Zorna, you need to talk to
It's a simple yes or no question.
Yes.
We should learn from our past experiences. Well, did you know there was a lawsuit against Harvard University for their Harvard admissions office? I just said this earlier, but Charlie Kirk used the same one, where the test scores were lowered for minorities.
Well, then
That's lowering the standard.
Well, and there is a lot of smart minorities too. You can't just say all of them are dumb.
No. Why did they lower the standard?
Let me ask you a question about meritocracy real quick. So you're going about meritocracy being the core foundation in society for society to work most effectively. So do you believe that we can have a true meritocracy in society when people are given different opportunities and institutionally marginalized and sectioned based off of factors that they can't control? That's not meritocracy.
Can you give me an example?
Well, I can. Would you accept that there are neighborhoods that are deprived, that receive less funding?
Thank you.
Which and that's not something just that they deserve. They didn't. It's not like certain neighborhoods maybe perform better through merit. It's that historically and generationally they have received benefits from if you want to go back to the slave trade, or if you want to go whatever, they just for some reason through generations and inheritance are in a better financial situation and receive more funding and receive more investment. In a true meritocratic society, for people to really be treated on merit, you need to allow everybody to start off at the same spot. Now, my issue with conservatives is that you guys always talk about meritocracy whilst also simultaneously talking about how people are not equal. And you laugh at the left for saying that we want equality when you can't achieve equality. But if you really want meritocracy, you need to do your best so that people are given equal opportunity from the very start, and that factors such as their economic stature does not impact what university they can go to or what hospital access they've got to. Because if somebody is worried about, their hospital bill that they can't pay because they've got a condition, how do you think they're going to be able to perform well in a meritocratic society that does not have a strong safety net for them to perform?
I mean, that's a whole, I can go into that, but I feel like what you're trying to argue is we should have other successful people have their money taken from them to give money to these people. So your solution is just tax the rich, give money to people who aren't that successful. Well,
you're putting words in my mouth, but you're saying it's
you not support
that? You Gabs.
Well, no, I definitely support something of that nature, but you're oversimplifying it. You're saying it's taking money out of successful people's pockets and giving it to people who aren't successful. But look at the people who are successful. Yeah, every 100 examples, you get one person who maybe made it from the ground up. But let's be honest, these people, if we do not regulate their wealth and we do not redistribute some of that, their children will have the same wealth and they won't inherit it through merit either. So then a meritocracy falls because it just becomes an inheritocracy. I've just made that word up, but you get the point. And people don't get treated the same because society becomes so unequal that your stature will be ascribed to you at birth. It will not be an achieved status, it will be ascribed status, which is, like I said, inherited and passed on through generations. So do you agree that we need to redistribute some of that to allow institutions to treat everybody at least, or try to progress to a society where people are treated equally from the very start, so that they're allowed to compete with each other, and then the true hard work and work ethic can stand out, and the true people with the best ability can stand out.
But DEI doesn't make it like equal.
I'd be more open to cutting taxes significantly for people.
Wait, Patriot, I have a question for Gabs.
So they have more money to do that.
Gabs.
Go on.
Do you believe that DEI makes it more equal, or no?
Can you just give me real quick what DEI is in America? And don't simplify it. Just tell me like the policy of DEI in America.
Okay, so gas politics. Let's say I'm a company and I'm saying 25% of our employees are going to be white, 25% black, 25% Hispanic, 25% everything else. That is DEI.
So wait, so is it like a requirement to have a certain amount, or is it a requirement to accept people who have, for example, the same qualifications? So, for example, if I have in front of me 100 people and 50 are white, 25 are black, 25 are Asian, and they all have the same qualifications, I have to pick them proportionally? Or is it that, for example, I have to pick certain people who have less qualifications simply because of their race?
Well, I mean, it's kind of...
Also lowering the standard.
What do you mean by, like, just can you explain that again? Sorry.
because you're saying that the kind of bottom line of it is that we need to have equal representation or fair representation within a job sector. But I'm asking, is that equal representation of people with the same qualifications, or is it just simply based off just the ethnic representation?
It takes into account qualification and race. So, like, let's say we had 10 people that were equally qualified. In that scenario, if like 5 were black and 5 were white, it would make you like make it like equal purposely. So like it's like
so I don't see a problem. I don't see how that's decreasing standards if they
No, because look, they lowered the score that you needed to get into Harvard. They lowered the standards to become a pilot. How's that fair? And it's only for these ethnic groups. It's not equal at all if you're lowering the standard for only.
Well, because like I just said, if you want a true meritocracy, people aren't going to have the same facilities when they grow up as somebody, for example, who grows up in a wealthy family who doesn't have to deal with the stress of medical bills, who goes to a better educational institution. These people deserve a chance to work these high-skilled jobs as well. Otherwise,
but healthcare isn't based on race.
Give me a sec. Otherwise, you're just going to continue. Repeating and regenerating inequality if you never allow any of these people a breakthrough in a capitalist meritocratic society, because the same people who have had an edge historically will continue to have an edge today, and that simply isn't fair. Somebody could work 10 times harder in terms of how many shifts they work to pay for their tuition fee. However, once they get into that university, they still have to work 3 shifts because they don't have parental support, because their parents don't have the finances to complete their course. And yes, that does take away some of the time that they've had to revise a certain subject and to get a certain grade. So I don't think it's that unrealistic and that urgently problematic that somebody gets maybe a bit more of a lenient
so it's extra
requirement.
Points. You admit it's extra points for minorities.
It's not, but it's not extra points because they've had to put in extra work. They have to, outside of their course, they've had to put in extra work, whether it's like I said, to work to pay for their education. I mean, that in a sense is working hard, and that deserves merit.
I'm just saying,
some ethnic groups make more than others.
Someone. Well, I'm saying what you're saying will mean that me as a white person, and let's say my friend is also not like, let's say my friend is a black person, I'm a white person. We both try to get a job. My black friend is going to get extra points because of the color of his skin. That is what happens under DEI.
But you're looking at it as extra points. I'm saying
they have a better chance of getting the job for strictly their skin.
Okay.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all.
We're kicking.
How old? The person about, how old are you?
No, I just kidding.
Yeah, it's probably like a 9-year-old. Keep going, guys.
So what can a person of color do in the United States so what can a black person do that I can't do as a white man?
It's 2 times harder for us.
But also, you're asking such a vague question. In society, it's so much more nuanced. You could have one black person who maybe is in a rich family, but you could have somebody who's 10 times more deprived than you in a deprived neighborhood with no investment from the government, no support. You can't just make up a hypothetical.
Equal opportunity.
Yo,
work hard enough. Yes.
We pick who works jobs based on who's the best.
And you have the equal opportunity. You have the opportunity, and you have the choice to work hard so that your future generations are better off. So the things that you are born into,
but that's not meritocratic,
are the consequences and the actions.
So are you for meritocracy or not?
It's the result of the actions and the consequences and the actions of the people before you. Those people worked hard for you.
But that's not you.
But what about the people before the other people that were born, that you're saying are born into these other neighborhoods? What did they do?
Nothing.
It's the consequences for their actions.
No, it's not. What are you talking about? Do you not know? Look, I'm not the most clued up on American history. You probably know more than me. But after slavery ended, I'm pretty sure for 100 years after, black people were not allowed to be involved with markets, with investment, with business. They weren't allowed to buy equity, and they were marginalized. That is not their wrongdoing. That is not a conscious, free choice that they made with their own agency.
Politics? What about the Asian American discrimination throughout history? All the immigration bans, Japanese internment camps. Asian Americans are like the smartest and wealthiest Americans today. Why is that? If
Wait. So
they've
you're
also
talking
gone through a lot
about
of that
historical discrimination against Asians, and you said that they weren't allowed to immigrate to the United States. Is that what you said?
Please, bro.
No, yeah, the Chinese Exclusion Act. Basically,
So they weren't allowed to immigrate to the United States. So how? What's the point?
Do
Because I'm
you know
talking
about
how.
the internment camps? You know about the FDR internment camps?
Educate me.
Basically, in World War II, you obviously know Japan was with the Axis powers. So as a result of that, FDR, the American president, decided to take hundreds of thousands of Japanese American citizens and forcefully put them in internment camps out of fear that they were spies for Japan. And, that's a big deal. That affects generations of people, like you're saying with slavery and all that. And guess what? Asian Americans, Japanese Americans, they're like the most successful today. They're like the most high IQ today. So if you're saying that for like black people, for example, you brought up slavery and like segregation. Now, listen, I'm agreeing with you that is 100% a factor. I just don't think that we should give them extra points today for something that was 200 years ago.
Wait,
Even
hold on, but does DEI not also include Asian minorities?
It does, but Asian minorities have been at the top before DEI was even a thing. They're not where they are now because of DEI. They actually made it there by just pure merit, which I'd
argue. Okay, the example you've given, I'm not going to devalidate it. I believe that is probably true, and that is obviously not right, and that does have effects, like you said. But I do not believe that once that period was over, that Asian people were as institutionally, structurally marginalized and discriminated against to the extent that black people were, to the point where they had different bathrooms and toilets and drinking fountains and schools. I don't think that was the case. And look, Martin Luther King was around less than 100 years ago. This is very recent stuff. There are people who have parents and grandparents.
And Ruby Bridges is still alive. Ruby Bridges is still alive.
This is still a very recent period in history that we cannot just move past. We have to still address it and the issues that it's still causing today. And I don't think the way we start addressing it is to get rid of the progress we've made simply because we don't like it. Because I think that's kind of where this comes from. It's just you think they get an extra point because it feels harder for you, but let's be honest, nothing's stopping you. If we truly live in a meritocratic society, in America, it's much more hard work emphasis than it is in the UK, for example. You don't have way less of a safety net. It really is just, encouraging you to just work hard. If you really want to work hard in America, you can work hard and no black person's going to stop you from getting the job you want. Okay, I'm telling you that 100%. No minority, whatever the media tells you, whatever Charlie Kirk wants to say about how he feels fear when he sees a black pilot. All of that. Oh my gosh!
So why do you think he said that? Do you have like any clue of the context?
I do have a clue of the context. Because he says, because they lower the standards for DEI. So then naturally, when I see any black pilot, I'm just going to assume that he's lower qualified. It's complete nonsense, and it's fear mongering.
United Airlines literally said that 50% of their pilots were going to be women and black people. Are you denying that that's going to
no more people?
That's going to lower standards.
Patriot, I have a question.
Why is that going to lower standards?
Do you know what it takes to become a pilot?
They're not hired already.
I'm sorry.
Wait,
let me
Patriot,
just
I have a question.
ask you this.
Sure.
Okay, how can you not look? You can look at it as like expanding the pool, because I don't think there's any proof that it lowers standards. I'm pretty sure that.
I can give you an example, Data AB. Think of the NBA example, and we've debated this before. The NBA is different. If the NBA said right now, hey, we have currently 85% of the National Basketball Association, it's all black people. We think that this is bad and that there's too much black people. We want to make it more diverse and give everybody an equal playing field.
I have a rebuttal.
That's cultural. That's cultural.
Okay, but it's irrelevant.
Exactly, bro.
Okay,
exactly.
hold up, Patriot. I have a rebuttal to that. The thing is, when you go to the NBA, you need the best of the best because people are only going there because of the players. It's entertainment.
I'm not saying it's the same, though. I'm not saying people like getting jobs is the same as working. I'm only strictly talking about standards being lowered.
Do you know what it takes for people to become a pilot? They have to go through years of training, have hundreds of flight hours logged. What?
I'm not saying they're not qualified. I'm just saying that
that's exactly what you're saying.
That is exactly what you're insinuating.
But
well, I mean,
Patriot, because you already got mogged, bro, by Gabs, bro.
No, Gabs saved all of us, bro. We were.
Yeah, bro.
I can give you Gabs. I can give you an example if you want.
Go on.
Let's say that I am trying to hire 20 pilots, and out of those 20 pilots, you know, all of the 20 people that are trying to, well, actually, no, let's say I'm trying to hire 20 pilots and 100 people are trying to get the job, okay?
Go.
All of them are qualified. You know, maybe some are more than others, but generally speaking, all of them are qualified. With DEI, I can't just pick the ones who I think are best for the job, who are the most qualified. I'm not saying some are like not qualified, just the most qualified. I have to say, hey, 25%, they have to be black. 25%, they have to be Hispanic.
But this is not what's happening. This is not what's happening.
I'm telling you, I already, dude, you didn't even know what Gab's politics. You needed me to tell you what DEI even was. How do you know what's happening? It's literally, I told you.
No, because you told me, and now I'm telling you that this is not what's happening.
They set out racial quotas.
You're acting like you can't have racial quotas as well as having standards. You're acting like those two things are mutually exclusive when they're not. You can have.
I said like 5 times that all of them are qualified in my example.
Exactly. So out of a sample of equally qualified individuals who just have different races, I don't see any problem with trying to represent them proportionally as they are represented in the population.
Okay, let me finish my example and then I can explain to you how it's relevant. If there's 100 pilots trying to get a job and only 20 are going to be allowed, let's say in this theoretical scenario, they're all qualified, but let's say 19 of the pilots who I want to hire are white and only 1 is black. And they're all qualified. I'm not being like racially biased. It just happens to be that I think that out of the 100, and I can only pick 20, 19 of them that I want to pick are white. And only 1 of them is black. That's who I want to hire. With DEI, it says, hey, you're not allowed to hire some of those.
But tell me why, if they're all qualified, tell me why you want to make it proportional to society and to the population.
Because I think that the people that work at a pilot should be the ones who I think are best for the job based on their skill, not their skin color.
No, but you just said that equally qualified.
Are you assuming that the qualified people are white?
Exactly.
I'm giving an example, and that's generally speaking, the more qualified people are white. That's like a fact.
Okay, that's like
That's just racist.
I mean,
there's
Google.
no arguing with that. That's just fucking racist.
You realize Google exists, and you can look it up.
Wait, Patriot, I have a question. What if
I'm not saying that they're naturally more
you guys
qualified.
wanted
I'm
to tell
saying
me.
that generally, just like black people are better at basketball in the NBA normally.
Yeah, okay.
You guys know Google exists. I'm not like just being.
Okay. What if everyone is equal? Like literally everyone is at 100%. They're all at the same percent of equality of who's the best pilot. What do you pick?
I don't think race should be relevant no matter what. So I would just pick who I. Because, dude, when you're hiring people for a job, there's a lot of times people have the same qualifications, and you pick based off like maybe personality or other factors. Race is not a factor.
But Patriot,
do you think personality should be a factor in something objective like piloting?
If 2 people are the exact equivalent as a pilot, and one is like a jerk person and one's a good person,
I pick randomly.
That person should be hired.
Okay. What if they're both like the exact same thing but just like a different skin color?
Yeah.
I think it should just be like not a factor. Then I think
coin
the
flip?
person hiring should pick.
no, there should be no factor to who's flying a plane than their skill. But let me tell you this, the argument you're making could easily be flipped on its head, because you're saying, okay, they're equally qualified. I just want to pick the ones that I want to pick. And if they happen to be 99% white, then I shouldn't have a problem with it. But then let's say we get rid of DEI. I can make the exact same argument as you're making and saying, okay, without DEI, and let's say this flight airline company has chosen 99% of their hires as white, even though they were equally qualified as the minorities. I could look at that and say, that's clearly an unfair representation you're picking off of race. There's no way, coincidentally, you just picked
I mean, that's how it was.
a gross overrepresentation of a certain ethnicity to their representation in the population when they were equally qualified as the minorities. Your argument can be flipped on its head because you're admitting that they have to be equally qualified to get this job.
More white people try to be pilots. Generally speaking, more white people are.
The pilot percentage is 85% white, 3% African American, 2% Asian, and 0.7% Latino. That's what
Data. Do you think that number was? Do you think that's like the good number? Or do you think that should be closer because skin color?
Personally, I don't think we should lower standards, and I don't think DEI does that. But I think if black people are 60% of the 13% of the population, I think don't you think we should try to make them like 13% of the pilot population or
I
something?
think we should live in like a colorblind society where race.
we should.
But you're the
pilots
one.
to
You're
whoever's
the
most
one who's stopping
qualified.
us from living in a colorblind society. A colorblind society will tell us that we treat each other equally, so therefore we had equal representation of people who are equally qualified.
You
But
yourself
see,
agreed black people get extra points in DEI.
Equality isn't real.
we keep on going back to this thing about extra points. It's not extra points. It's making sure that people who've been historically underrepresented
By
have
doing
a
what? By
fairer
doing what?
route, have a fairer and easier route to get the representations and the roles
by
that they would have
doing
never
what?
historically got because of their race. So this is how we're moving to a more colorblind society.
Yeah, by doing what?
Well, Patriot's far right, so you can't tell him nothing at this.
I don't care what page
Well,
it
Eric,
is.
you didn't even know what DEI was, dude.
Gabs.
Like, what are you talking about?
Bro, I asked you what DI was. You explained what it was in the American sense. I had a
I'm
rough
not talking to
idea.
you. I'm talking to political era. I wasn't talking to you, Gabs.
Okay.
You can go back though. But what?
But wait, don't you think being in a colorblind society would be making them equal representation? That would be
Precisely.
more colorblind.
Okay, but let's say theoretically that there was no racism at all, and it just happened to be that 83% of the pilots were white. Would you still want to have DEI if there was a guarantee at no racism?
Like if racism just like never in history existed?
If like there was zero racial bias at all against black people, would you be fine with 83% being white?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, but I thought, would it lower standards to say that like we should have less white?
No, that wouldn't necessarily lower standards. I don't think DEI in general lower standards.
I mean,
Okay.
DEI doesn't inherently.
Data, I brought up the NBA example, and then you said something about like what the purpose of the NBA is. That's a separate debate. I'm not saying people getting a job is the same as being in the NBA. If you agreed with me that lowering like the amount of black people in the NBA would lower standards, then how does the same not apply to lowering the amount of white people as pilots? And like, I know you've already said this, like, oh, because the purpose of the NBA is to have the best of the best.
I get what you're
That
saying.
doesn't
It's
answer
about
my
the principle of the standards. I get what you're saying. But the thing is, I would bring it back up to like this being historically disadvantaged and stuff like that. That's why I don't think it would be the same in the NBA to get more white people instead.
Yeah, basketball has never had, from my knowledge, the NBA has never had a historic prejudice against anyone.
No. Gab's politics, it hasn't. But in the NBA, 85% of the people are white. I'm saying if we made DEI in the NBA, we need more white people, less black people.
Do you know about that stuff?
Do I know about what? What are you talking about?
Wait, my bad. I'm talking to someone else.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
My bad, Patriots.
There you go, man. I'm just saying that if we lowered the amount of black people in the NBA, the quality of the NBA would get worse.
But look, this is again, you're talking about qualification. To fly a plane, you just have to know how to fly a plane.
Not quality, the skill.
But that's the
Wait, no, wait,
the
I
thing.
rebuttal this.
The NBA revolves around players who are slightly better than each other or at separate different
Exactly.
things. So it's completely more nuanced than flying a plane, which is taking off and landing. There's no way
Yeah, but
somebody
dude,
can fly
you're
a
not
plane
getting my
quicker than
argument.
others
I'm
because
not
the plane
saying
goes at
it's
a
the
set
same thing.
speed.
I'm
So
simply arguing standards would be lowered. Not that they're the same job.
Wait, no, but it's different because
No, it's different because you're not
for being a pilot, you have to take off the plane, drive the plane, and land it. That's what you have to do. In the NBA, you have to. It's about bringing in revenue. The whole point of the NBA is about bringing in revenue. So there's all stars, mid-level players, low-level players. So I think it's different with that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, but that doesn't address my point that standards would be lowered. All it addresses is that there's differences between flying a plane and being an NBA player.
Patriot, listen, you're contradicting yourself because you keep saying standards would be lower. No, let me say why. You're saying that standards would be lower, and I'm agreeing they would if you bring in a mandatory proportion of representation in the NBA. Yes, standards would be lower, but doing that in flight would not lower standards because the standards stay the same. You're just ensuring that there's a proportional representation of people who have the same qualifications. In the NBA, it's impossible for somebody to have a qualification for the NBA. It's who can handle the ball better. But if you can't handle the ball, can you at least rebound? And if you can't rebound, can you shoot from three? There's all these technical factors that make each individual different to each other. So there's no way of really having a criteria for people who are better than each other in the NBA. But for a pilot, planes can only go at a set speed. Just because a pilot being a better pilot doesn't make the plane go faster. You know what I mean? So there's no way.
Let me cook up.
there for any reason.
Yeah, but I'm everything you just told me is like the same thing that Dad said. It's just saying how being an NBA player and being a pilot is different. And I agree with everything that you said in that. All I'm saying is that standards would be lowered, which you didn't address at all.
No, I agreed with you that standards would be lowered.
For pilots, it would be lowered for pilots.
For pilots, there's an objective criteria. There is no objective criteria
we've already
for being in the
established
NBA. People need different things in demand. For piloting, there's one objective criteria: can you fly a plane? It's not that like that.
And
in
in DEI, it's not just can you fly a plane; it's can you fly a plane, and we have to make sure a certain percentage of our pilots are skin color.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the objective criteria. But there's no objective criteria for the NBA. You need a piloting license, flight school, all that it's all objective. You need it. And for the NBA, none of that is objective.
Let me tell you why.
It's like a bias. Is that your argument?
Let me tell you something. So they might not inherently. They might even if the company doesn't lower their standards to make it easier. If you have a DEI program, and let's say they're trying to get 100 new employees, they want 25 Asians, 25 white people, 25 black guys, and 25 Mexicans, whatever. They have one more spot left. And they have a white guy and a black guy. And the spot is supposed to be for a black guy. Let's say the white guy, he has like twice as much experience, way better, for whatever reason. If they pick the black guy to fill their quota, that obviously is going to be worse.
That's what we debated at the very beginning, though. That's what we're getting at. We're just way deeper into it right now. But Patriot, I would say it's different just for the fact that the NBA doesn't have objective criteria, so standards would not be lower. I mean, piloting, and piloting does have objective criteria.
Exactly. There's no exam you have to pass to get into the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. To college and stuff.
I mean, no, that's not. Some do, but not everyone does. For piloting, everyone needs to do the same stuff. Objective criteria.
The same course, the same
okay, fine. Well,
theory test, practical test.
Would you be fine with teacher quotas? Like a certain percentage of teachers have to be black at schools?
Why not?
Because that would lower standards. That would take the current people. Because listen, let's say currently 90% of the teachers were white.
Wait.
Definitely not the case.
Wait. One second. This might be a fallacy I'm committing here because I'm not really tackling the point. However, it's ironic that Republicans talking about lowering educational standards when you're president. I don't care. The people on the right want to lower funding towards education.
I don't support Trump. I'm not going to defend Trump.
Sorry, I just assumed that because you got Charlie Kirk in your.
No, it's a fair assumption. Yeah.
But are you for cutting educational spending? Because that to me lowers standards. That to me lowers standards in education far more than DEI would for teachers. And not only would it lower standards in education, it would also lower standards for people then going into employment because they've had lower standards of education. So
I think education should be just like totally reformed, in my opinion. So I mean, yeah.
In what way though? In what way? Is it a way which cuts its funding or what?
Probably increases its funding, but like probably in different ways than you're.
I think the whole education system would be way better off if we just
an affordable
made it
college.
mostly privatized. It'd be way better.